Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of wearechange.org, and there's so much information to get into, specifically what's happening in our national political social discourse, that it is absolutely insane. But I'm going to try to get into as much as I can in this video, specifically about, most importantly, how information and the news is now being weaponized in order to divide and conquer us from what I believe to be special interest groups. And this is all about a non-story that really doesn't matter. Now, what's happening here is that a lot of people are being hoodwinked, being put in particular camps for a very specific reason, because of an institution that used to care about journalism, that used to care about holding powerful people, corporatists, banksters, and politicians, people who actually mattered in our society, accountable, who have now literally shifted and started a 2 minute of hate derangement syndrome literally against people who are underage. Now, of course, a lot of people are pointing the blame directly at the mainstream media, but I do believe that there's something more sinister happening behind the scenes here, which hopefully I could get into in this video, but if I can't, I will just make a second video, specifically going over COINTELPROB. But regardless of this fact, this non-moment, this instance of when actually nothing really happened, is now becoming a watershed moment, with even Donald Trump, according to Laura Ingraham, saying that he would meet with his children at the White House. Donald Trump earlier said that the students were treated unfairly, but again, these reports have not been confirmed yet. But regardless of that, there's still so much to stay up to date about this larger collision of cultures that's really happening here, that we're going to do our best to get into as fairly and as honestly as we can in this video. You know, a form of journalism that many people have lost and forgotten the meaning of, which, by the way, is done fairly with your contributions and your donations through platforms like wearechange.org/donate, because if it wasn't for your donations, we wouldn't be able to operate as an independent, nonpartisan news organization, and the only reason we can is because of your donations, specifically on wearechange.org/donate. And that's why before we start, I wanted to clarify once again that we are not on either side of the story. We're not with the MAGA kids. We're not with the Native Americans. We're not definitely with the Black Israelites. We're not on the left spectrum or the right spectrum. We care more about the truth than we do about a particular clan allegiance, which sadly is becoming more rarer by the day, as exemplified, of course, by the hyperbolic story of the high school MAGA hat wearing kids and a Native American. Now, what happened here is that a short clip went viral a few days ago that has galvanized the national discussion ever since. I actually will provide a link to a live stream of about an hour and 46 minutes of what actually happened that day. But according to the mainstream media now, what happened was that a Native American combat Vietnam War veteran randomly became surrounded and confronted with a large group of high school students that began chanting, "Build the wall," intimidating, harassing him, and, quote, were on the verge of not only attacking, but ripping people apart that were Native American or of color. This, of course, was the predominant narrative that we saw pushed effectively by the mainstream media, a lot of celebritards all over Twitter, a lot of high-profile individuals who have since retracted their statements ever since these violent kids were able to get representation and have legal repercussions behind their words, because these are still minors. Now, that was the narrative that the mainstream media ran, and in reality, the predominant provocation and also racial and homophobic bigotry was presented by, of course, the Black Israelites, which CNN described as black youth who preach about the Bible and oppression. Meanwhile, they were calling fellow students here the F word, which a student actually responded with by saying they are still humans. The Black Israelites continued to single out a black child a part of the high school, with also the high school students answering back saying, "We love him," as of course they were verbally accosted and assaulted by the Black Israelites. According to the students, they asked permission if they could do their school chant to drown out the actual hatred and bigotry which was brought upon them by the Black Israelites, which then Native American Nathan Phillips, who by the way is not an actual Vietnam combat veteran at all, and has lied about that, said that he saw his fellow brothers and wanted to protect them, to intervene to help them out, to which he actually walked up to the students, inserting himself, beating his drum, which created the viral video that of course everyone is talking about right now. And then absolutely nothing happened, and yet this is still a watershed moment. Now, of course, there was still some discussion back and forth. One of the students said land gets stolen all the time in the video, in the live stream. Of course, one of the Native Americans that was a part of a crowd said, "Go back to Europe." Now, yes, the kids were smug. Some people would even initiate that they were mocking the Native American or taunting him, and I mean that even could be a stretch. In reality, the situation is more awkward than anything else, and let's not kid ourselves. The optics, which again, people have to be reminded here of these underage teenagers, is not perfect, is not one of, respect, but at the same time, they didn't know what the hell's going on here. They just had a guy walk up to him and start drumming, which was a very awkward situation and more of a WTF situation that was pretty much exemplified through that video, especially through the live stream when you watch it and see the complete story of what actually happened here, instead of the false narrative that is being pushed on by the mainstream media. Because also, if you want to play around here with semantics, you could also rightfully say that a man who was pretending to be a U.S. military Vietnam veteran decided to intervene and try to help out a hate group that was screaming racist and homophobic epithets at underage children. And that as well could be true. Now, regardless of the debate around optics here, the fact still stands that because of this lazy, poor reporting by the mainstream media, which, by the way, to me wasn't just lazy. To me, this is all being done on purpose. These kids were essentially doxxed, had people call for their death, had to literally shut down their school because of the constant death threats, bomb threats, and harassment, with the school officially shutting down today as a group of protesters are protesting them as we're speaking right now. Many people with large following and influence called for the destruction of these kids' life, if not their actual end of their life or physical assault on them, with again no repercussions on Twitter that has verified many of these accounts, even though it has used similar standards, if not lower standards, to permanently ban other accounts previously before. The doxing and threats have even affected innocent people, like a random kid that looked similar to the child who was smirking at this Native American, who received violent death threats from, again, people and individuals who weren't even there or a part of this incident. And even though many of these news organizations and bigger celebrities had to put out retractions for this, there's still people who are blindly seeing the disinformation, that one side of the story, and specifically still making threats against these kids, like this Saturday Night Live comedy writer, who, again, in very poor taste, says that she will give fellatio to anyone that punches the kid with the MAGA hat. Again, calling for the assault on children because of weaponized fake news. And guess what? The debate on this topic, it's not over yet. It's still only getting more heated as, again, people are just trying to find any excuse to go after these kids with old photos like this that apparently were taken around 10 years ago and do not include the actual students, but the school that they're from, with allegedly them portraying themselves as racist blackface. But even Snopes of all people, pointed out that the intent of the black body paint was of course done not for racial purposes, but of course instead for school tradition related to blackout games. They also do a very similar thing to whiteout games, painting themselves totally white and has nothing to do with racism. There's also now a second clip going viral on Twitter right now, which again is a shortly edited clip that has already galvanized 9.17 million views, which again doesn't show the full story, but again portrays that these kids were provoking and screaming out MAGA. But again, this footage is out of context and shows that no one is learning any lessons here. We don't even know if these were the actual high school students. This event started when allegedly these high school students just randomly, for no reason at all, started yelling MAGA at her with no provocation at all. And the account that it was posted from has previously posted a lot of very racial and racist epithets on their Twitter account. Oh, and even homophobic epithets here. Now, there's also allegedly another clip of one of these kids screaming a very offensive comment that I will not say. Again, yet another 6-second clip without context from a conversation that was happening with the Black Israelites, which, without a doubt, said a lot more offensive things than what this kid said in this 6-second video. But according to the high school students that are being attacked here, this person, according to 2 students, does not go to their school. And yes, it's a very stupid, problematic statement, but is it worthwhile to condemn a whole group or defend the threats against it because of it? Absolutely not. Now, it's also important to talk about the fact that just developed a few moments ago, where it came out that Nathan Phillips, the Native American in this entire situation, does have a history of very similar events that unfolded with this viral video. And he did this previously before in other publications, where he described how he had girls previously spit at him and call him a baby killer because he was a veteran of the Vietnam War, which came out to be absolutely false, which he lied about. There's also a second incident where Nathan Phillips says that he was accosted with racial slurs and harassment because of his Native American heritage, which allegedly occurred in 2015, where again, young people made fun and attacked him because of his Native American heritage. And it is important to note here that he is raising funds throughout this entire incident and with his testimony to the mainstream media. Jake Tapper of CNN even said that the video of what happened that day strongly contradicts what Nathan Phillips has been saying. Now, this, of course, has put into question Nathan's accounts of racial harassment that happened in 2015 and also the harassment that happened with him being a Vietnam veteran, which he is not. And even though it's distasteful for this man to claim that he is a Vietnam veteran when he is not and collect money for him, we still have to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially with other incidences that we did not have any evidence of. But regardless of that, we have to understand that his story that was perpetrated and pushed by the mainstream media does not add up and is a false narrative. By the way, a false narrative that spread from a fake Twitter account from a network of anonymous accounts that amplified and ignited this entire controversy. And this is one of the reasons I believe that this is a part of a COINTELPRO-like operation that is meant to divide and conquer people, which of course I will get into in the next video on this YouTube channel. But if there's anything that you disagree with or you think I got wrong in this specific case, please let me know in the comment section below. I always answer comments within the first hour that a video is out, and I love the lively discussions that we're able to have, conversations that wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you guys supporting us and believing in us, and us, of course, being held accountable by you. And the main way we do that is, of course, with your financial support. If you think we're honest and we're doing a good job and you want us to continue to do a good job, don't forget to go to wearechange.org/donate and support our work, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. And being here, I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity, and that's why I end every single broadcast by saying, I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more.